to our episode for New Voice Live this Friday. I've lost count of how many episodes we've done, but I know we're coming up to our 1 year anniversary here. It's been a long while. We've been in a pandemic for nearly a year. We are in the midst of winter for those of us who are in New York. I know that Asantie's in Barbados, so it's not quite winter down there. But for the rest of us, we're in the heart of the winter. We just had a snowstorm. It's a long year ahead of us. So, this is where the hard work comes in. For those of you who are here time and time, week after week, this is like going to the gym, or as Kaylee says, this is like training a muscle. After a while, there's fatigue that sets in. And for many of us, I think there's some fatigue that we've been at it for a year. I know that I'm feeling the fatigue, but I also know that this is also when the greatest change happens. For those of us who decide that we're going to stick with it, this is the wall that once you break through is the transformation that makes things all the better on the other side. So I feel like we're at the wall right now with a lot of things. This pandemic that we're facing is, it's still going on, but there's a vaccine out there. It's going to be distributed here where we're going to be able to be back in person eventually. So there's light at the end of the tunnel, but for now, it's a long slog. And so for you all who are here, I hope that this will end up being something that is uplifting and inspiring, even though it feels tough and difficult out there. So I hope that after our meetings, you feel energized and inspired. And that's kind of the whole reason why we do this, is to make this as anxiety ridden as possible, to ramp up the fear as much as possible, even though we're not in public. And that's why we're live streaming and all those things. So embrace this, lean into it, get up there and take the stage. That's why we're here. We want to confront it. We want the adrenaline rush. Those are the kinds of people that come to Toastmasters. Those are the kinds of people who come up week after week and confront the fear because they know on the other side there is something much better. So thank you all for coming. I'm glad you're all here. We've got a great speaker tonight. That's Asantie, who's a new school student of ours. And for those of you, anybody a new school student, please raise your hand just so I can see. But we want to say thanks to New School. Without them, we wouldn't be here. And Asantie is one of our New School leaders. And so she's an amazing speaker. I look forward to her speech, which is going to be the third speech. And that's get to the point. And we'll get into some of the details of why the third speech is the third speech. But she's going to be speaking. And Dee is our table topic master. So one last time, Sean, please put that link in there for folks and they can sign up. But with that said, let us get on to our speaker for the evening. That's going to be Asantie. Asantie, are you there?
Hi.
Hello,
Hi.
Asantie. I think
How
we
are
may
you?
have you on a different camera. Do you have two cameras on tonight? One, you have your phone in here too, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so I think, Kaylee, we need to go to her video. There we go. Welcome to the show.
Hi.
Happy
Thank you.
Friday.
Happy Friday.
Good to see you. And so you know the drill. You've been here for quite a while. You're one of our student leaders. So you know why we do the speeches the way we do them. But for the other folks who may be new, we actually do have a curriculum, and it's a 10-speech curriculum. And the first speech is an icebreaker to introduce yourself. And it works its way up all the way to speech number 10, which is inspire your audience. Now, the ultimate task of any person trying to communicate is to get their message across in a way the audience feels inspired. But that's a really high hurdle, right? How many inspiring speakers do we know? In fact, if I take a guess for you new school students who have to go to class all day long, I'm sure your teachers are all very, very intelligent and knowledgeable. I'm sure you're learning a lot from them. How many of them are inspiring though? I wonder. Because that's another level. There's one level of communicating and getting a point across, which is your speech tonight. Get to the point. But our curriculum says that we're ultimately trying to reach to speech number 10, inspiring an audience, a whole other level. And so as we was talking about, Asantie, that comes from speaking from the heart. And therein lies the whole point of this anxiety. How do we speak from the heart while our minds are going crazy with the fear? And that's the balancing act. So for you, your speech, get to the point, is for us as an audience to understand why you're saying it. Tell us what you're saying. We want to know what it is that you're talking about. But ultimately, our goal is always to then be able to relate to the audience in how you say it. Okay, so I just wanted to make clear for us that we're going to be evaluating you later. Tonight, we're looking for what she said. Did she get to the point? Did we get the message across? But ultimately, speeches in our curriculum are all about how we say things. Was what she said inspiring to us and moving to us? Okay, keep those two things in mind as Asantie gives her 4-minute speech. The title of your speech is Black History Month. Is that right?
Yes.
Very much looking forward to your speech. 4 minutes on the clock. I'll let you take it away.
Hi, good evening, everyone, fellow Toastmasters. This speech, I wanted to focus on something that I know is near and dear to our colleagues' heart, those who are African American, Black History Month. And just to put some things into perspective, imagine not being able to have adequate access to housing, work, education, and other opportunities that would make your quality of life better. Imagine fear of violence and little safety in your communities. These are very real challenges of the Black community in the United States. And though I am not African American, I'm West Indian from Barbados, I still share a bit of that, having experience living in the United States for just over a year. Black History Month is very important as we reflect upon and remember the events and important people who have come before us and the unique Black experience and its history and its culture. I can relate to the celebration of this month through shared history, some dark parts, and also some triumphs as well. In May last year, I attended or I protested for the first time just days after the George Floyd death. And this is something that was very near and dear to me because I wondered, I'm not exactly African American, even though I am Black. Should I do this? Should I not? But when really we look at our counterparts and we think about the lives that they live, it's really hard not to go and fight for the ones that you love, the ones that you have come to know, and some of them here with us today. And so Black history on a whole, it has instances of unspeakable injustice, discrimination, racism. But I also like to acknowledge those moments of grace and triumph and rejoice in the things that we have been able to conquer. I think about the civil rights movement. We spoke earlier about Rosa Parks. I think about young Amanda Gorman, a great public speaker in her own right, a poet who inspired me as a young Black woman able to speak at the inauguration. And these are things history in the making. And it inspires me, and I hope that it inspires you as well. I take a look at this moment, and if nothing else, my message for today is that we all have a role to play in making sure that our counterparts, our African American colleagues, are free from the injustices of country, not only by speaking up, but by elevating those who play a key role in tackling systemic injustice and suffering in the Black community. Let's share resources. Let's have solution-based discussions. Let's share stories that elevate the people around us. I want to take the time to wish the African American Toastmasters in the group today a happy Black History Month. And let's all play our part, West Indian, Asian, Caucasian, in making sure that we can make a good decision to make better quality of life for those around us, and to challenge our leaders to make sure that those of us who are discriminated against, those of us who are not treated fairly, that we have a good chance to contribute to our society, and that we're able to have better living for those of us who have not been able to do so. Thank you.
Asantie, that was an amazing speech. Congratulations. Couple questions for you. How much rehearsing did you do?
I rehearsed today. I wrote it.
Okay, and so
earlier.
was this a memorized speech, or was this something that you were kind of speaking off the cuff?
I wrote down the key parts that I wanted to hit on, because I know the whole point of the speech was get to the point. I wanted to make sure that it was really clear. So the key points, but I really wanted to kind of let it flow, because I involved a really personal experience that all of this came out from, and that I wanted to touch on for something, really special.
Got it. It felt very natural, first and foremost. And so that's the part that I was wondering about, how much rehearsing that you did, is that it felt very natural, but it also felt very polished too. And you looked at the camera, which I have a difficult time myself because we're in this new world. And so I was also trying to figure out how much of it was rehearsed, because you gave such good eye contact too. So were you looking at the camera intentionally?
Yes, I definitely tried. That was something that I took note of from my last speech, to make better eye contact. So I really tried this time. So I'm glad that you guys were able to notice.
Absolutely. It was one of those things that I noticed. And again, because I noticed it so much, I was wondering how much of this was rehearsed, because that's the hard part of doing this on camera now, is we have to talk to this inanimate object, a little dot, instead of an actual person. And so it's really hard to do that. And so you did a great job. I wanted to commend you on that. That's the one thing I noticed. So great job. It's time for us now to let the audience give you some feedback as well. So Sean, if you wouldn't mind, in the chat, there's a link for you all to give Asantie some feedback for her. So if you wouldn't mind doing that for the audience, and we're going to listen to, I think, some Beyonce for you, Asantie, your favorite song. So we'll put 2 minutes on the clock for Asantie's evaluation, and we'll come back for table topics after that. Okay, welcome back, everyone. Thanks for the evaluations from everyone. And I also want to give a quick update as well on where things stand for our Toastmasters Club and New Voice Live. So we are now in a place where this New Voice Live that we're doing the live stream, we're going to try to continue to do even after we meet in person back at the new school. But it also means that we're kind of doing two separate things now. We're both going to have the in-person as well as this live stream. So we're going to do the Toastmasters clubs as part of our official organization with New School Live. And then this live stream is going to be New Voice Live. So what that means for us is we are going to try to make this thing stand on itself. And we've got a lot of folks who spend a lot of time, who do a lot of work, in particular Kaylee, who's our president, and spends a lot of time doing emails and stuff. So we've moved to a donation system. So if anybody has the ability and the generosity to donate to our live stream, feel free. We're going to put a link in the chat as well for that. I know we've got some old time members who've been donating to us very generously. So thanks to those guys who've done that. We appreciate that. So we want to recognize those folks as well. Anybody that donates, we really appreciate your helping us out with this new entity called New Voice Live. All right, with that said, let's move into table topics. And our table topic master for the evening is going to be Dee. And if we can get the table topic list up on the screen for us. So Dee's question of the evening, it's really a theme, is ourselves. And again, I'll let Dee do a quick introduction on her theme and topic. So Dee, are you there?
I'm absolutely here. Am I ever? Can you hear me?
I can hear you. I think we're going to get you on screen here in just a moment. There you are. So take it away, Dee, as our table topic master.
Thank you. It's my joy to be here. My introduction to Toastmasters was by a friend who had been to Toastmasters and was the table topics master for that day. And she said, hey, come and see. And what I saw before she actually started was a table with a topic. And she had an idea what she wanted to talk about. And then in addition, she had little pieces of paper with sub-subjects of that topic. Well, the purpose of table topics is to have you learn to feel comfortable, first of all, as you speak about some little thing or big thing, but you have the freedom to speak, and you speak a minimum of 1 minute and a maximum of 2. It's a wonderful way to practice. For example, if your manager's manager is coming down the hallway and you pass her or him and he asks, how are things going? There are some people who could talk, and by the time they get halfway through, the guy's gone, okay? Because we don't realize how long we're talking. So lots of this has to do with timing and focus. So that's what we're doing. Table topics here. Today, our subject is, it's not really a subject, let's call it, yes, it is. We're going to talk about ourselves, but we're not particularly going to do it the Freudian way, the Jungian way. No, there are some people here who can do it that way, but just talk about who you are. And we do know that we're not the same. We don't present the same self to everyone we know. And it's fun to hear. So I hope it's fun for you to share that with us. Okay? Let's begin. There's one other thing. Thank you for that. There was one other thing I wanted to say, and that is, it's a wonderful thing that Toastmasters established at the very beginning, that the stage would never be empty without applause. And that's the reason when we're handing the baton from one person to the next, we do applaud. Now we have automatic applause here because we're doing it by Zoom. However, what I ask is that we show each person who comes up to do a table topic our actual applause, the support, which is what we give here by just this. Can everybody do this? Just show me. If you put your hand up next to your face, we can all see it. It's wonderful. Thank you. And now the first person, if I could see the first person, is, I see, okay, he's waving at us. Alex. And Alex always has something profound to say. So would you please, Alex, take the screen?
Well, thank you so much. Actualization. Indeed, what a wonderful stage of life. Really, to actualize, many people have difficulty getting to that point. In my life, I think I've had difficulty getting to that point. But when I realize that all I have is now, all I have is the actual moment in my life. Things from the past are very interesting and they're lovely memories, not so lovely memories, some pretty violent or vile memories. That's life. And the future, well, I haven't gotten there yet, so why will I even consider it for the moment? The time is now. Actualization is to be in the moment, in the present. It's a very challenging call to action because to be actualized, you really need to kind of sit back and let it all be. Back to you, Madam Topics Master.
Some people are actually applauding, and a lot are not yet, but we'll get to that, right? Thank you, Alex. That was great. Here's the deal. I love it that you're talking about actualization in the moment, being in the moment. And there are many, you can't imagine how many descriptions there are, how many entries in the dictionary for actualization. They even have it in Hindi, in Urdu, they have it all over the place. But it's wonderful. And what you said is definitely one of them. So that's what we see for Alex. Thank you very much. I knew it would be perfect. And the next person is, well, it's blank, but
Who's the one after?
Okay. Can you tell me the name that I can't read?
It's Pramila.
Oh, Pramila, of course, Pramila.
Hi, how are you?
Pramila, welcome to Table Topics. And
Thank
we
you
know
for
you
having me.
always have something, you have something interesting to tell us, and we can all learn from you. So please take it away.
God, I hope so. That's a lot of pressure. So I've come to the realization that life is really just about teetering between delusion and actualization. The idea of being happy versus actually being happy. What do I mean by that? So, like any other arrogant, self-sufficient 20-year-old, I thought I knew everything. I moved to New York and I was going to be a writer, right? I was going to be like Meryl Streep in The Devil Wears Prada, just have her energy all the time, rise to the top of a company and run the show. That's what was going to happen. Then 2020 happened. A pandemic left us all having to go back home. For me, in a town that I did not enjoy growing up in, that I had a very rough childhood in, that reminded me of the depression that I was always trying to escape. However, I realized something when I came back, and that was I was really hungry, like all the time. And I realized while I was in school, I'd been stressing myself out to a point where I was never eating, never taking care of myself. And because of my decline of my physical health, it was leading to the decline of my mental health, meaning that I should not be stressing out and I should not be anxious and I should not be doing things that don't make me happy as much as like, I messed up. Anyways. What I'm trying to say is that energy has to be harnessed, and life is going to throw things at us all the time that are not going to make us happy. But what we must do in these moments, such as 2020, such as the pandemic, is finding our happiness in little things. And for me, that quite literally means little things. I have a collection of tiny things. I have a tiny radio and a tiny camera and a tiny record player for no reason, but my little things just make me really happy. And that is what 2020 has really taught me about myself is I find happiness in the weirdest things, like physical small things, perhaps cheese, just staring at the sky, and you know, just sometimes coffee. Thank you.
Thank you. That was wonderful. I love it. It taught you the value of little things in your life, and it's teaching all of us. And the great thing about this Toastmasters and table topics is that we get so many people's view of the same thing. And your view is enlightening. Yes, it is teaching us. And we are learning. And I'm so glad we are. And you talk about self care, we jolly well need that. And so many people haven't got that yet. But we'll get there, hopefully, and stay healthy. Thank you so, so much. And now the next person whose name I still can't read. John. It's John Brennan. Is it John? Hello, John Brennan.
Hello, Dee.
Welcome to Table Topics. You always have something profound to say as well, and generally. And so let's turn it over to John.
This is such a wonderful group. I'm always so happy to be here. It's so many things, it's growthful. It's political in the best sense of the word. Okay. Look where we're situated. Well, we're situated in our rooms now, but normally, we're in the new school, this cauldron of intellectual life and creativity in New York City, multicultural. Henry, I feel like you're my therapist, getting me through here, keeping me sane, keeping us all sane in some way. I have a theory about shyness, and I'm a recovering shy person myself. So just now I can't shut up. So there is hope for everybody. Okay, shyness is like there's a kind of political side to shyness. Okay, I don't know if this is a conspiracy or not, but it's like the 1%. They don't want everybody to have their voice, right? If everybody had their voice, then politically we would all be as engaged as we could be. We would have a real democracy. We would be able to save our planet. There is a connection between us finding our voices here and saving the world. There really, really is. I look at Joe Biden, who I love. I saw him the other day on TV. This poor man, he's so afraid. He's got problems. Even Joe Biden, Henry, you got to go down to Washington, D.C. I swear to God, we need the Zen master in the White House now, coaching this man. If the president has a hard time, what hope is there for all of us, But we all need love and caring, which we get from Dee, which we get from everybody here. There's such a loving group. It's a wonderful group. I ran for president twice. I lost both times, okay? I didn't, in fact, vote for myself because I was ambivalent about my campaign, but that's a whole nother story. But I am working on a one-man show, okay? It's a one-man show about education. And one of the things I talk about is one of my ancestors who was a great forgotten actress named Blanche Walsh. She was actually the first American movie star. And here I am, nobody knows who I am, but I'm related to this woman who was the first American movie star, who was in a movie in 1912 that came before The Birth of a Nation, this horribly racist movie, Birth of a Nation. Another better movie came before about love and social justice. That was lost. That was lost. And if we remember that, the entire history of Hollywood would be changed. And we could use culture and television for better use, to make better people, to educate people. This is my one-man show. I want to keep it secret here, okay? Don't tell anybody. If word gets out, I will know who talked. But anyway, I love you all. This is great. Thank you for being part of my one-man show. This is only the first act, okay? So God bless you all.
Thank you, John. Of course, I knew there would be something to take away from John's speech. He talks about this being the cauldron of intellectual life. Don't we like to be thought of as that at the new school? Not only the new school, New York City, or wherever we are. We could always do that ourselves. And I love it when we get different views of the same thing. We're talking about ourselves here. And yes, mentioning self care certainly helps. That's one more thing. And recommending Henry to go to the White House and do some and do some therapy on the president anyway. Blessings, and let's get on with the next one. Yeah, thank you. There's some live happening here. I see Leon Thomas. Am I right? There you are, Leon. Welcome to Table Topics. And we're eager to hear from you what light you have to throw on table topics, because everyone has a different light, and let's hear your light.
Good evening, everyone. In keeping with the semi-existential nature of the conversation, I'd like to pose a question, and that question is the big question: is why are we all here? And for me, I think about this question maybe more than I should, as someone that could kind of get lost in my mind a little bit. I'm a bit prone to overthinking. And what I've come up with, excuse the traffic, this is New York City. What I've come up with is the real reason we're here, and to be a little wonky, is love. Love and experiences. It's what makes it worth it for me whenever I experience quality time with my family or my friends. It makes my the other half, the apathy or the overthinking, it makes it all go away, and it makes life worth it. Thank you.
So you do another look at existentialism, you said? That's, and you talk about overthinking. It isn't until I came to this country I heard people talk about overthinking. I was taught to think and think and think and think. I didn't even know when I was overthinking. But I get that, and we all get that. And in your case, you're talking about experiencing good times, the good times, the best times with the people you love. And that's one of the things we've learned in lockdown, isn't it? Bless you and thank you. And so we'll get on to the next person whose name is Sean. Ah, Sean, our inspiration, is the next speaker, table topic speaker. Let's welcome Sean.
Hey, I'm here. Alrighty. Sean Japal speaking. So first time, the first time I ever heard the word actualization, I was in grad school, and I was getting my MBA, and I was sitting in class, and my teacher was talking about Maslow's hierarchy of needs. And then he showed us that upside down triangle on screen. And the way that my professor explained it was that you are fully actualized when you are content both fully and emotionally. Fast forward a few years later, personally, I would replace the upside down triangle with two concentric circles. And the reason why I say that is because self actualization to me is the person who you want to be and the person who you are one and the same. So both of your circles are laying perfectly on top of each other. And if you're someone like me who isn't quite there yet, then you'll have a little bit of space in between your circles. But I prefer to view it as circles because, because I think, like circles are a little better shape than triangles. And in a sense, it symbolizes that you go from 0 to 360. Thank you.
You brought it back to psychology, huh? Maslow. Yes, self actualization. And I like the idea that you said circles, concentric circles. I also like the idea that you said you're not quite there yet. That's hilarious. Do you know anyone who is? I think
Not
we're
at all.
all striving towards it, aren't we? And it's wonderful. And I'm glad you put that out there for all of us to think about. Thank you, Sean. And Sean is one of our inspirations, right? Because you didn't even start with it this time, Sean, telling everyone your history, but we're still inspired. Thank you. And the thing about the chat, by the way, reminds me uh, some people like to go to the movies alone, and some prefer to go with friends. When you go to the movies with friends, it has to be with a friend who knows when to whisper what. And if it's someone who is continuously chattering, does that remind you of the chat box? But anyway, you don't have to read it. All right, the next person is Sabrina. Hello,
Hello,
Sabrina.
hello.
Welcome to Table Topics, and you're going to bring us some new insights because it's yourself and yourselves that you're bringing us. And thank you, Sabrina. Sabrina.
Thank you very much. Hi, everyone. Something about myself is that I've always been a dreamer since I was little, and I still like to think that I am. But I had trouble actualizing these dreams into reality. There was a barrier in my head somewhere where I would think to myself, like Prim, all right, I'm going to be this queen. I'm going to go to New York. I'm going to intern at a fashion company. I'm going to be the next Chanel. But something about that never really came to fruition for me. I could never really find that action potential. And while I loved my time in New York, I knew there was some piece missing that I could reach. The pandemic did not exactly help with that, as I'm sure you all can imagine. And it gave me the excuse for about a month to sit and do nothing and not have to face that barrier in my brain because it was so far away and we were all in this limited space. However, after about a month of a lot of apathy, I realized that now was probably the best time to face my fear and go head on and break the barrier because I found this what do I have to lose mindset that I didn't have in New York, that I didn't have with a more fulfilled feeling life. And now I feel very fulfilled. I feel as though I've accomplished a lot, and I'm really proud of that. And I'm excited to bring this new feeling into my life moving forward post pandemic. And that is how I've actualized a lot of my dreams. Thanks, guys.
Great food of thought. I love it. You're a dreamer, and it's wonderful to be a dreamer. Do you know, I found when I started giving my seminars and workshops that there are people who don't even have dreams? That's sad. It's great when you have a dream. First thing is a dream, then you have something to work towards. And then you talked about the apathy in lockdown. You're not alone. A lot of us who had a lot of energy before lost it during lockdown. We just sat around instead and realized, as Henry says, if we don't exercise those muscles, guess what? Don't use it, you lose it. So we have to. And then it's great that you started counting your blessings instead. And you saw instead how wonderful it was because you actually have done so much. And so have we all as we look back in a different light. And thank you very much, Sabrina.
Thank you. And absolutely, we all have. I totally agree.
And our next table topics is Alan. And Alan generally brings us something financial, I think, or at least I think of it financial. And I'm always learning from him, so I listen very carefully. Not that I don't listen carefully to everybody else. So come on, Alan.
Thank you, Madam Hello, fellow members and guests. When Dee said, "What is your life?" the first time, I misheard it, and I heard, "What is your light?" And to be more, I guess, thinking about that directly, I actually just bought a light for this webcam Zoom calls, and it's sitting right here. So I thought about that. And the reason why I bought that a few days ago is because I want to get more into these types of Zoom conference calls in general. And the reason is financial literacy. And as we think about the purpose of this light here, it's to help people understand about finances and everything that's going on in the world around us. Because I think over the past year with COVID, there's just been such a large increase in awareness of the stock market and investing by people. And because most of us are at home, there's just a lot more conversation around investing. And so I want to be more proactive about what I'm doing to help people when it comes to investing. So there are some things that I'm not ready to share today, but things I'm working on my own to basically pivot from my career in investment research into something where I could be helping people to learn how to invest, learn how to save money, and really take advantage of all the things on the internet that we have today that can provide information, access, awareness of everything from opening a checking account to investing in your first stock to what is a stock and all those basic things that I think a lot of people, and especially younger people, just weren't, haven't been made aware of until really over the past year. So I'm very excited to do that. And there's going to be more of that to come over time. So with that, I'll pass it back to you, Madam Toastmaster.
That's what you like revolves around. And the nice thing about it is, yes, you do spread it and you teach us every time you go up there. I learn something else. I love it. I was a math major myself. I started as math. That was my bachelor's. And yet I was never a financial person. You put a dollar sign or a sign of some year, and I'm no longer the major. But I'm glad to hear this, and I learn every single time you go up there. Thank you.
Thank you.
The next person is, oh, Rajiv. Hello, Rajiv. He's coming with something special too that we open our ears to hear. Come on, Rajiv.
Thank you. Thank you. Happy to be here. What's the question?
Oh, ourselves.
I'm sorry. Can you say that again?
Ourselves. SELF in plural. The different selves that we present, however you wish to talk about it.
Okay, ourselves. Wow, that's a very deep kind of question. Sometimes hard to put it into any container or shape. Sometimes I think of this, and there's this condition called split personality, and sometimes I think that knowingly or unknowingly, we sometimes fall into the habit of having a split personality. And by that, I mean, we show up a certain way for work, we show up a certain way, let's say, for this amazing Toastmasters Club, we show up a certain way in our personal relationships, and we also show up a certain way in our professional relationships. The question then is, why is it all so separated? And why, or maybe I'm talking about utopia, a place in this universe or alternate universe where people can just be as they are and be accepted and be successful exactly how they are without needing to change or shift or morph based on the situation. But I think that's one of life's greatest challenges. And in order to be actualized, uh, it helps if you can arrive at that sweet spot, which enables you to just be and be that way every time, all places, and it still works. So if anyone has cracked that code, please reach out to me, connect with me on LinkedIn, and I'd love to know. Thank you all, and I hope this message resonated with someone. And fry yay to everyone, and have an epic weekend ahead.
Well, you did talk about being different for each situation, and that brings us back to Henry, who talks about not being different so much as putting on the makeup, which makes us a different person each time according to what makeup we use. I love it. And so we bring it back to Henry's theme of taking off the makeup. And you said, in a world where you could just be. Well, sounds like Zen or something to me. It's great. I love it. Thank you. And the last person is Trey. Now, Trey is Trey this time. Okay. And Trey, we know you're coming with something to jolt us. And there's your background as usual. You have more things in the background. Thank you, Trey. Take it away.
Can you hear me all right?
I can. And everybody else?
Fantastic.
I think so.
All right. Ourselves. This topic resonates so deeply for me. There's so much that I want to talk about, but I don't know where to begin. I think where I want to start is kind of with that word actualization and how so many of us spend so much time trying to decide whether we want to be that dog or a wolf. And this kind of phrase comes to me. I recently heard it. It's a medieval term that they used to kind of scare children, where they wanted, well, parents wanted to scare their children into making sure that they didn't stay out too late. And this was the time when the sun went down, and it was a little bit too difficult to determine whether there was a dog or a wolf staring at you from the shadows. And by the time you actually realized what it was, that time in between was too late. I think the way that this kind of translates to where we are as a people is that so many people will spend so much time trying to make themselves into a representative, or maybe a representative of themselves, where they post on social media, look how rich I am, look how famous I am, look how whatever successful I am. But in actuality, they could actually be the dog, but that dog never gets to see the light because they're so enamored about what it is that people will think of them. And I think that that is really, really unfortunate, that our bodies and the way that we present ourselves are so subject to other people's thoughts, when at the end of the day, it is possibly the greatest instrument that we will ever own. I think I'll end right there.
I have to say that something you started off with sent me off on a tiny little tangent. You said you had so much to say that you didn't know where to begin.
Right in arm's reach, I have a book right here that says "Burn After Writing," and so it's almost like a journal that you answer questions about yourself, and then as soon as you do, you burn it, so there's no evidence that. So it's like, how true are you to yourself? Kind of.
Yeah, my uncle found my diary once when I first came to America. Anyway, this thing you said, where to begin, I think of in Alice in Wonderland, or I think it was Through the Looking Glass, the quotation is begin at the beginning, go on till you reach the end, then stop. And it's funny, it could be funny if you look at it lightly. And at IBM, when we gave our presentations, we really loved who said it was excellent. The instructors would count how many excellence we got. And I remember one. The thing is, you always remember one. And this woman said she didn't like it that I said that. Isn't that something? Instead of remembering all the other people who said, I should be nominated for the best this and the best that. That's what I remember. So I still say it though. Begin at the beginning, go until you reach the end, then stop. And that's what you did. Thank you, Trey.
Thank you.
And the last thing I have is Trey. Trey, does that mean you're the last table topic speaker? Nope. Here's Rob Price. And we look forward to Rob. Rob is the person who changed table topics. Well, you really just added to table topics with bells and whistles and all kinds of lights and whatever. And I saw table topics, first of all, as pieces of paper on a table. Well, thank you, Rob, and we look forward to what bells and whistles in your cells are going to be revealed today.
Thank you, Dee. And unfortunately, I have to disappoint you. Today, I have no bells and whistles, and my internet is barely working, and I may even get cut out. But if I don't, I'm going to be here talking to you guys. And when you had asked the question or to speak about ourselves, it's a hard thing to talk about yourselves. And myself, the first thing that came to mind, and maybe it's because I moved last week, um, is this thought of, as a kid, we moved around a lot, and every year from second grade until like ninth grade, it was a different state, city, place that we'd moved to. And I really hated it. And just moving the other day just brought back all these memories of packing things up, moving them, starting a new school, everything being new. And it was just really something that I wasn't a fan of and don't like moving. But I um, have come to realize that moving actually has made me a more versatile and adaptable person. And I'm grateful that I have that, but I still hate moving and I'm so sore. And I just had to shovel this week too because of all this snow, and it's awful. So anyway, with the internet cutting out, I was like, yes, I don't have to speak tonight for my table topics, but I'm glad I came back on and was able to chat with you guys. So thank you, Dee.
We talked about moving around. There are many of us here who can so relate to moving around. I remember moving, I think I counted something like 7 times within 2 years when I first came to this country. It was moving, moving, moving. And yet now I've been in the same place for almost 50 years. You ready? I said 50. So it's another way to look at things. Moving does keep you on the go, though, because as you move, life moves with you. And if you don't move, life moves anyway. So it's a wonderful thing and something to think about. And thank you so much. I
Thanks.
think
That's kind of like
I'm sorry, like what?
Ferris Bueller. Never mind.
Well, okay. Okay, well, everyone has given such a good, different viewpoint to this. I had a feeling it would be that kind. I made it so that you could put your own spin on whatever it is you thought about your different selves, not just the psychological one. I was definitely expecting one person here, especially, and she knows who it is, to talk about Jung. But but we got all kinds of other points of view of ourselves. And I learned something from every single one. That's one of the best things we do about coming here. It's our muscles that are being exercised, not just to talk, but also to learn. And thank you so much, everyone, for participating in our table topics. Uh-oh, we can't hear you, Henry. Can
Thank you.
anybody else?
Yes.
Okay.
Sorry for that, Deep. Thanks for reminding me about that microphone. Great job, table topic master. It was one of those things that we always look to you for support and encouragement. Our supporter in chief, as we like to say. Thanks for that. It was great.
Thank you.
I also want to reiterate. I think the topic itself lent to a lot of genuine, authentic stories. And for me, that's why I'm here and coming back every week. Yes, it's a muscle that we're practicing. There are skills here like looking into the camera and speaking articulately. But the art of this is being vulnerable. The art of this is being able to, in front of an audience, folks who are strangers, tell people about who we really are, to take the mask off, the makeup, as I always say. And I heard a lot of that where there's this tug and pull between who we are and the makeup that we have to wear. What we're trying to do here at New Voice Live is to try to combine the two. We're trying to say the makeup is equally as important. The skills and the muscles are equally as necessary to practice and train as is the internal journey that allows us to speak in front of an audience, in front of a camera. And that's the hard part, is being comfortable with who we are, being able to be vulnerable. And I hear that every week, and that's why I keep coming. So I appreciate it for all of you who came and spoke. It's not easy. You got to get over the fear first and foremost, but then you were saying be vulnerable. So I appreciate that. Um, I also hope you feel good about doing it too. That's the part that I talk about inspiration at the end. The fact that you've gone up and done it hopefully makes you feel good and want to come back next week. And so that's why we're doing it as well, is to keep you guys coming back. So with that said, let's turn it into our roles and our grammarian and timer for the evening, who are going to give us our feedback for that. So the first for the evening is going to be Sabrina, and she is our grammarian. So let's let
Yes,
her
I am.
take over and give us our grammarian count.
Alrighty. So, Asantie, during your entire speech, you only said on 3 times, which was incredible. I aspire to be you. Alex gave us a word of the day. Prim said so once, said once, like once. Super impressive. And we got the word of the day. John gave us 6 ahs or ums and 6 knows. Leon gave us 2 ahs or ums, and that's it. Super impressive for your first table topic, Leon. Sean was perfect and gave us a word of the day. I gave us a word of the day as well. Looks like I didn't get any ahs or ums or anything, so that's fun. Alan gave us 5 ums, and Rajiv had 2. And then Trey hit all the marks and the word of the day. And Rob had 2 ahs or ums. Sorry for the background noise, and I'm sorry if I missed any word of the days, but great job, you guys.
Thanks for that, Sabrina. Great job. I also forgot to mention we didn't do our table topic vote and feedback form. So Sean, would you put that link in the chat, and everyone give your vote for best table topic for the evening, and also give Dee your feedback for her as well. And while you guys are doing that, we'll get our timer count, and that's going to be with Alex. And Alex, can you give us our times?
Well, the times they are changing. All right. Asantie spoke for 4 minutes and 7 seconds. Great speech, Asantie. Alex, God knows how many seconds, minutes he spoke for. Prem, 2 minutes, 25 seconds. John, 2 minutes, 57 seconds. Leon, I love your soul of wit. Brevity is the soul of wit. 1 minute and 8 seconds, and you said it all. Beautiful. Sean, 1 minute and 58 seconds. Sabrina, 1 minute and 55. Alan L, 211. Rajiv, the man on fire, 2 minutes and 20 seconds. Trey, 2:23. And last, but of course never least, Rob Price clocked in at 1 minute and 56 seconds. Over to you.
Let's go to Alex. Well, with that said, we're going to wrap up another show. But before I go, I want to leave you all with an update. Like I said, we are now officially part of a separate entity from our traditional in-person meetings. So we're going to be trying to grow New Voice Live as best we can, and we're going to make some changes coming forward. So we will still continue to be affiliated, partnered with a core member of Toastmasters International. But for New Voice Live, we're going to try to see if we can chart a new course and make it supplementary to our in-person meetings. The one thing that we have that we cannot get in person is this video recording. So every Friday when we live stream, we capture the recording, we leave it on YouTube. Up to now, we've basically said, look, go check it out. It's important. It's useful for you to go check out. I think what we're going to now do going forward, though, is make that recording a central part of who we are. And so what we're going to do now is to send you all, I don't know if we're working on the technology this week. So hopefully this week we'll be able to send you all, for those of you who spoke, timestamps to the times that you spoke, with the intention that we want you to go watch yourself on YouTube. I can talk about how this is a muscle. I can talk about the fear and the anxiety that comes from speaking in front of an audience, but I will tell you, if you really want to conquer that fear, if you really want to challenge yourself and overcome, watch your video. That is the hardest thing in the world to do, is to watch yourself on camera. And we've been somewhat lax on that by saying, look, we know how intimidating it is. You should go do it, but we're not going to push you. We are now going to push you. We are now going to say, this is where you're going to get the maximum benefit from this, is watching yourself on camera. So that's what's going to be happening going forward. So we're going to be starting to make some curriculum changes around the idea that we're recording these things. Traditionally, what we're going to also do then is have a master class where we deconstruct speeches. So last week we had Janelle's speech. Unfortunately, Janelle was not here, so we won't be able to do that. But next week, Asantie, if you are back here, what we'll do is take your recording and deconstruct it and go through it with everybody in masterclass. But that's the update for us, is that with our new separate track to Toastmasters, we're going to be focused on the video side of this and the recording side of this to maximize the utility of being on camera. So anybody that is new, if you are interested in joining us, please let us know. Membership is free. For those of you who, again, have any ability and generosity enough to donate, feel free to donate. Sean, one last time for that link for us. But essentially, that's the plan, is that we're going to go to a separate entity, donation-based, focused on video recordings. And so if you're interested in that, membership is free. Let us know you want to join. Stick around. So we're going to do after hours tonight, since Janelle's not here for masterclass. So if anybody is interested in joining or more information, stick around for after hours. All right, with that said, we're going to wrap up another week. We'll see you guys for New Voice Live next Friday. If anybody wants to stick around and say hello and just chat after hours, stick around for after the outro. Okay, see you guys next week.